Hello and welcome to things I find interesting that happened today in the past, aka Tifitht Itp. This show is all about the historical events that occurred today in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things I personally find intriguing enough for me to bring to you. The source of this information comes from the smart device application on this day, the icon of which can be seen as cutoff prevention at the beginning and end of each episode. The music in the background is Electro-Light by Symbolism, which I found on the YouTube channel No Copyright Sounds. For links to the app, music, and anything else potentially interesting, check the underbar. Anyway, on with the show! Today is Wednesday, aka Wednesday, March 9th, 2016. In 2011, Space Shuttle Discovery made its final landing after 39 flights. In 1997, observers in China, Mongolia, and eastern Siberia were treated to a rare double feature as an eclipse permitted Comet Halley-Bopp to be seen during the day. In 1977, the Hanafi siege occurred, in which during a 39-hour standoff, armed Hanafi Muslims seized 3 buildings in Washington, D.C., murdering 2 people and taking 149 others hostage. In 1961, Sputnik 9 successfully launched, carrying a human dummy named Ivan Ivanovich, thus demonstrating that the Soviet Union was ready to begin human spaceflight. In 1960, Dr. Belding Hibbert Scribner implanted a shunt he invented into a patient for the first time, which allowed said patient to receive hemodialysis on a regular basis. In 1959, the Barbie doll made its debut at the American International Toy Fair in New York. And little girls have been confused ever since, spending their entire lives in vain chasing unrealistic beauty standards. In 1956, Soviet forces suppressed mass demonstrations in the Georgian SSR, reacting to Nikita Khrushchev's de-Stalinization policy. Oh, what a wonderful idea! What better way to tell the populace you govern, you care about them by sending your military to forcefully stamp out anything that complains against you? Stupid. In 1945, the first nocturnal incendiary attack on Tokyo inflicted damage comparable to that inflicted on Hiroshima 5 months later. In 1933, during the Great Depression, President Franklin D. Roosevelt submitted the Emergency Banking Act to Congress, which was the first of his New Deal policies. In 1916, during the Mexican Revolution, Pancho Villa led nearly 500 Mexican raiders in an attack against the border town of Columbus, New Mexico. In 1862, during the American Civil War, the USS Monitor and CSS Virginia fought to a draw in the Battle of Hampton Roads, which was the first battle between 2 ironclad warships. In 1847, during the Mexican-United States War, the first large-scale amphibious assault in U.S. history was launched in the Siege of Veracruz. In 1842, the first documented discovery of gold in California occurred at Rancho San Francisco, 6 years prior to the California Gold Rush. In 1841, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in the United States versus the Amistad case that the captive Africans who had seized control of the ship carrying them had been taken into slavery illegally. Oh, you mean these people didn't willingly become slaves and were taken from Africa against their will? No shit. In 1831, the French Foreign Legion was established by King Louis Philippe to support his war in Algeria. In 1765, after a campaign by the writer Voltaire, judges in Paris posthumously exonerate Jean Calas of murdering his son. Calas had been tortured and executed in 1762 on the charge, though his son may have actually committed suicide. In 1500, the fleet of Pedro Alvarez Cabral left Lisbon for the Indies. The fleet will eventually discover Brazil, which lies within boundaries granted to Portugal in the Treaty of Tordesillas. In 1276, Augsburg became a free imperial city, and in 1009, the first known mention of Lithuania occurred in the annals of the monastery of Quedlinburg. First, Yuri Gagarin, 1934, Amerigo Vespucci, 1454. And that concludes Tifitht Itp. For your dose of Passive Daily. I am Ayo, and you are you. Toodles!